Yes, we saw a piece of pottery glaring back up at us that looked glazed. And the first thing I thought was, wait a minute, what's a piece of Islamic...
That would be like Muslim era.
Yeah, what's a piece of Islamic pottery doing down way down here? So I picked it up and looked at it and go, oh, it's not. It's Middle Bronze Age pottery, but it's melted on the surface.
In Genesis, you have these cities, Sodom and Gomorrah, and there's wickedness, there's inequity in the city. But then God decides, no, this city is doing horrible kinds of things. So I'm literally going to rain fire, sulfur down. I'm going to destroy this city.
There is one story in the Bible that has long stirred controversy, awe, and debate among scholars, theologians, scientists, and archaeologists. It is the account of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah, cities that were utterly destroyed by fire from heaven during the time of Abraham. Many have dismissed this as myth, a symbolic tale of divine justice with no historical foundation. But what if there was real, physical, undeniable evidence that these cities existed and were, in fact, destroyed in a sudden, fiery catastrophe? Today, what was once considered a tale of religious imagination is now being examined under the lens of modern science and archaeology. After decades of failed attempts to identify the exact location of Sodom and Gomorrah, researchers believe they may have finally found it. The evidence is compelling, the destruction is real, and the alignment with biblical details is astonishing. Please subscribe to our channel before we proceed, so you don't miss more fascinating discoveries like this one. Now, let's begin. According to Genesis chapters 13 and 19, the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were part of a region known as the Cities of the Plain, located in a lush and fertile area near the Jordan Valley. When Abraham and his nephew Lot parted ways, Lot chose to settle near Sodom, attracted by the well-watered land that reminded him of the Garden of Eden. But this beautiful region was also filled with wickedness. Genesis chapter 13 verse 13 says, "Now the men of Sodom were wicked, great sinners against the Lord. Because of their great iniquity, God chose to destroy the cities." Genesis chapter 19 verse 24 to 25 tells us, "Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur, and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities, and all the valley, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground." For centuries, scholars have debated whether this cataclysmic event ever truly happened. Many assumed it was metaphorical, a moral story rather than a historical event. But recent archaeological discoveries have dramatically changed that perception. For years, most researchers agreed that if Sodom and Gomorrah were real, they would have been located somewhere near the Dead Sea. The most popular theory was that they were at the southern end of the Dead Sea, based on early surveys and scattered ruins. One site in particular showed evidence of destruction by fire, and some proposed it could be linked to Sodom. However, deeper investigation revealed that these southern sites were abandoned centuries before Abraham's lifetime. Archaeological layers dated to around 2350 BC or earlier. Much too early. One major candidate was abandoned nearly 300 years before Abraham would have lived. That meant these ruins couldn't be the cities of the plain described in Genesis. To identify the correct location, we must take a closer look at Genesis chapter 13. Abraham and Lot were camped between Bethel and Ai when they decided to part ways. Genesis chapter 13 verse 10 to 11 says, "And Lot lifted up his eyes and saw that the Jordan Valley was well watered everywhere like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt. So Lot chose for himself all the Jordan Valley, and Lot journeyed east." This passage tells us several important details. First, Lot moved east from Bethel and Ai, which are in central Canaan. Second, he chose a well-watered area, described like Eden, and pitched his tent near Sodom. This means Sodom would be located east of Bethel, in the Jordan Valley, across from the central hill country. That places it not in the south, but in the northern part of the Dead Sea, near the Jordan River's entry point. Additionally, Genesis chapter 14 describes battles taking place in the valley of Siddim, which scholars believe corresponds to the flat plains in this northern region. Bitumen pits, also mentioned in Genesis, are found in this area, adding further credibility. Even Ezekiel chapter 16 verse 46, which says Sodom was to the south of Jerusalem, can be misunderstood. The Hebrew word used literally means to the right of. If facing east, as ancient maps often assumed, to the right would indeed be eastward, fitting the northern Dead Sea region. With all this in mind, archaeologist Dr. Stephen Collins began investigating the area north of the Dead Sea. After extensive research and revisiting early surveys, he came upon a site called Tel el-Hammam. Located in the Jordan Valley, this was the largest city in the region during the Middle Bronze Age, the time period associated with Abraham. To illustrate its size, Dr. Collins noted that you could fit 10 copies of Jerusalem's City of David inside Tel el-Hammam's walls. Excavations began in 2005, and the findings were extraordinary. The city had been suddenly destroyed and then abandoned, with no one inhabiting the site for hundreds of years afterward. Initially, the destruction seemed to date around 1600 BC, but as more evidence surfaced, including pottery analysis and over 40,000 artifacts, the timeline was pushed back into the Middle Bronze Age too, right in line with the biblical time of Abraham. What caused the destruction of Tel el-Hammam? Archaeologists discovered signs of an intense and violent event. The destruction layer included 1. Pottery melted into glass, some bubbling like lava. 2. Zircon crystals formed from high temperatures. 3. Scorched bricks and stones, with many foundations completely obliterated. 4. Buildings blown apart, with mud brick walls thrown from their foundations. Even more incredible, scientists discovered desert glass and impact glass across the area, materials that form only at temperatures exceeding 6,000 degrees Celsius. Dr. Collins remarked, "We have pieces of pottery melted into glass, bricks turned ceramic-like from extremely hot temperatures. It is a scene of utmost devastation and disintegration." After this fiery disaster, Tel el-Hammam and its surrounding cities remained abandoned until the Iron Age. The entire region had become infertile and uninhabitable, just as the Bible suggests. Lot's wife, who looked back and became a pillar of salt, could also make more sense now. The Jordan Valley near the Dead Sea is rich in salt deposits. An airburst could have vaporized moisture and left behind layers of salt and minerals. All this confirms that the biblical story wasn't a myth made up centuries later. As researchers point out, if the story had been fabricated in the Iron Age, how could the writer have known the exact geography, destruction method, and time period of an event that happened hundreds of years earlier? The discovery of Tel el-Hammam is not just a victory for archaeology. It is a testimony to the accuracy of the Bible. What was once thought to be a religious myth now appears to be a carefully preserved account of a real event passed down through generations. Genesis 19 is no longer just a dramatic story. It is an eyewitness account describing an ancient disaster in terms that modern science is only now beginning to understand. Whether you believe in divine judgment or not, one thing is certain. Something extraordinary happened in the Jordan Valley, and the Bible recorded it with remarkable detail. Sodom and Gomorrah have, at last, been found. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing biblical discoveries.